Hello and welcome to this week's assembly. We've really enjoyed looking through all of the dinosaur artwork that you have sent to us over the past week. We've really enjoyed looking through it, and I know that colleagues from the Natural History Museum have enjoyed looking through it as well. This week we're joined by Libby Jackson from the UK Space Agency. Libby was part of the team that was responsible for getting Tim Peake, the most recent UK astronaut, up into space. She's going to be sharing all of her intergalactic knowledge with us. But before Libby, I'm really excited to introduce Ant and Dec. Lots of you will know Ant and Dec from the telly, but they're here today from the NSPCC to talk to us about staying safe and speaking out.
Good morning, Oak National Academy. Thanks to all the students who've joined us. Ant and Dec here.
We want to encourage every single one of you to speak out if you're feeling upset, anxious or worried. This might mean finding an adult that you can trust, like a parent, relative or teacher, and talking to them about how you're feeling.
Or you can contact Childline to speak to someone in confidence. Childline's trained counsellors can speak to you over the phone or through online chat and will listen to any worries you might have, big or small. You can get in touch at childline.org.uk/kids, or you can call a counsellor on 0800 1111.
All children have the right to speak out and be heard, be safe and get help when they need it.
The UK Space Agency is responsible for all our country's exploration of the worlds beyond our own, be it experiments in space, building technology to explore Mars, or the countless other ways that we seek to make progress in understanding ourselves and where we live. Today, we invited some pupils to find out more about that work by quizzing the UK Space Agency's Libby Jackson.
Almost, who is everybody here? Who's lovely faces?
Joe, Angus, Mom.
My name's Lauren.
Hey, Lauren. This is confusing. Everyone's name is saying this. So we've got Lauren and Joe and Angus, and there was one more voice I heard, I thought.
Yeah, so this one.
Ah!
You're going to be an astronaut when you're older, Joe. Yeah.
He likes space.
Let me tell you who I am. I'm Libby. I work at the UK Space Agency, and I look after human spaceflight for the UK. So I'm in charge of human spaceflight and astronauts and all the amazing science that happens up there in the UK. So I have to make sure that we here in the UK get the best we can out of it. I used to work in mission control. I spent 7 years there, so I have worked with astronauts for a long, long time. I hear that I think out in Oak, you've been learning about space from time to time, a minute, and got some questions I can answer. I'd love to hear what your questions are and answer those.
When you were in mission control, did you ever feel nervous that something might go wrong?
I didn't, and you know why I didn't? It's because we were really well trained to make sure that we knew what to do if something went wrong. So it's just like the astronauts. We would spend lots and lots of time practicing. We would have what was called a simulation. So we'd sit in the control room with people pretending to be astronauts, and we'd have our computers that were how we control the spacecraft. And there were computers basically in another room pretending to be in space. And things would break. And there would be fires that would break out, and payloads, experiments would go wrong. It's just like playing a computer game, really, but it felt really real. And we'd have to make sure that we practiced and we learned, and we learned how to deal with it. So when we had the real thing come along, we knew that we had the skills and the knowledge to know what to do.
What's your favourite planet and why?
Which is my favourite planet and why? I like Earth, really, because I can live on it and I can breathe. So Earth has got to be my favourite planet. But I think the one after that, I like Saturn because it's beautiful. All the rings are amazing. And we've learned so much about those rings. Once upon a time, we thought they were sort of solid, and then we discovered they were lots and lots of little bits of rock. And they're swirling around. And you can almost see in Saturn how all the planets formed, because all those different bits of rock that are swirling around Saturn and make up those beautiful rings. It's a bit like how once upon a time, a big swirling disk of rocks around the sun, and it all formed together and made the planets, and that's, you know, it made us eventually. And so Saturn's really beautiful, but I think it's really interesting too when you look at the rings. And you can, if you have a telescope, you get to see it in the sky, and I haven't managed to do that yet. I'd like to one day.
How close can you get to the sun without burning?
How close can you get to the sun without burning? Well, it sort of depends on basically how much protection you've got. There's Mercury and Venus, which are the two planets closer into the sun. And there's no way humans could survive on them because they're so hot. I can't remember the temperatures, but you know, really things can melt. And Venus has got this atmosphere that's really sort of full of yucky gases that are really hot. And to send spacecraft to those places, they have to be protected against the heat. We've got a spacecraft called Solar Orbiter that the UK helped build as part of the European Space Agency project. And that's on its way to the sun now, and that's got big sunshades on it because it's going to study the sun, but it can't get too hot, so it has to sort of be behind it. It's basically a big sunshade, big parasol to keep it cool. So it's really hard, even if you're a spacecraft, to get, you know, quite close to the sun. And like the Solar Orbiter isn't getting right to the surface of the sun; it's still, you know, quite a long way out to make sure that it can see the sun. But the sun's really, really, really hot.
Do you know what else is out there? For example, aliens. Do you think they exist?
Do I think aliens exist? I absolutely think aliens exist somewhere out in the solar system. If you look and you've got a really good telescope like the Hubble telescope, you can see galaxies all over the sky. And every galaxy is full of billions of stars, and there are planets around all of those stars. So there are so many places out there that I think life definitely had to evolve somewhere else out there.
I don't think they'd look like they do in the cartoons. I think they'd look different, but not crazy.
I think they actually look a bit like us, but they won't be able to communicate with us.
Maybe they'll look like us because life here on Earth is pretty amazing, and it evolves in lots of different ways. I think they will be adapted to whatever place they are living in very well. That's what we've all learned how to do. We all learn how to adapt.
When you were little, did you ever think that you'd be able to work in mission control?
I didn't. I really didn't. When I was little, I really enjoyed learning about space, and I thought that mission control might be an exciting place to work. But I didn't actually think it was possible. And I never knew it was going to happen, but I never forgot that it was something that I would like to do, and did my best to try and make it happen. And I was very lucky it did. Thanks so much for asking those. You've got one last chance to ask some questions for astronauts. In a couple of weeks' time, there's the last UK Space Agency Tim Talks Space event. So if you've got a chance, you can always go on that, and you actually get a question to ask Tim Peake. Some questions. You can catch all the rest of them online too. But as always, you've got more questions. There are so many places out there you can go and find answers. Go and have a look at those. Thanks so much for listening today. I hope you've enjoyed this bit of the assembly. I'm going to hand over now back to one of the other Oak Academy teachers who I think are going to pass you on to the kids section. Thanks again, and bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.